Good morning, good morning, everyone. And there's funny Alex. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, of course. That's very funny. It's when I make those initial screen resolutions, I have.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, I have to do that. Damn it. Sorry about that. I had to always have to get that mute the damn live monitoring of stuff. So Nick says, going to make coffee. Hopefully, I won't miss out on the new audio mixer features. I don't think you will miss out on anything. So let's do something together. Let's go check the App Store. See what's going on in the App Store. Here's the App Store. Final Cut Pro. Still on version 10.4.7. Haven't seen anything different than that. Yeah, 10.4.7. Nothing has changed in the App Store there. Nothing's changed. So, what does that mean? That means at some point in the future, we're going to be seeing a new version of Final Cut, but it's not there now. That's for sure. I know everybody wants answers to, or they want a rundown on what's going on with the visit to the Apple HQ yesterday. I don't have any answers for you that I can share publicly, but we'll see if we can have a discussion anyway. I'm going to have a bigger discussion when I get back home. I'm going to have some people on to discuss perhaps what exactly went on there. I mean, not to discuss what exactly went on, but just discuss around the what went on over there. We can't obviously discuss it. We knew that going in. Justine says no. A weather report from, let me get that off there, from Anchorage is why we are here. I don't have the weather from Anchorage, Justine, but plus, besides, you're in Africa. I think it's different weather over there. So, good morning, Ernest. How are you doing today? Going into this, we knew that there would be restrictions on what can be discussed. Everybody knew that. And that has played out to be accurate. We cannot discuss exactly what's going on, but I'm just saying that if you look at the App Store, the version of Final Cut Pro has not been updated. So there's no public update to Final Cut Pro. So a version of Final Cut Pro, a new version of Final Cut Pro, obviously, will happen at some point in the future. Right now, it's not been updated. I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but we can't really discuss anything beyond that. We're not supposed to. Maybe I'll report back. Well, I can't even do that. The Final Cut Pro team is coming over here for a one-on-one discussion this morning, and we will talk to them in person. Maybe, I don't know if they'll let us say anything about that as well. We'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, I'm going to, let me see here. So, I'm going to play a few clips from the trip yesterday leading up to the Apple visit. This is us on the bus. So one of the things about being on the bus, look how happy we were. We were a very happy bunch of people. So Alex says, I'll add that to the broadcast, the news seems to be the Final Cut might not have been discontinued, hopefully. No, there's no news about Final Cut Pro being discontinued. You would read that, I'm sure, if that was the case. That's not the case, obviously. Anyway. So we got on our bus. We had two buses as usual. We had Liat from Future Media Concepts.
Question. Do you have your NDA signed? Yeah. Does anyone?
Everyone had to have. We all know about that. People have talked about that in the past. She was making sure everybody had their ID badges.
The visitor center and then a second drive to Infinite Loop. And we come back at 6. Don't forget about Expo.
And then we had we got to the center, of course. We go to the Apple store first. All the swag is there. People are standing in line to buy iPad Pros and buy AirPod Pros. I mean, not iPad Pros. So and then we had, what else do we have here? Let's do. So Dave says, I sense you are bursting to tell us something. Interesting observation. You know, when you go to these events, just like last year, we had the Apple team come over to the event. They're coming to here again this morning, and they said right from the beginning, you can't record. Everything that's talked about in this room has to stay in this room. And that's what we expect. So they're coming back again this year, so I don't think there was any major breaches on that. I don't know. I think we can talk about stuff that happened after things are made public or after things become public, I think. I'll have to check. But anyway, just, the App Store has not been updated, so Final Cut Pro has not been updated to 10. It's still at 10.4.7. That's the reality of it at this point. Obviously, what does that means that in the future we're going to get a new version of Final Cut at some point. Of course, we did, everybody's also waiting. I know we haven't seen anything anywhere. We haven't seen anything anywhere. And just, I'm not going to be providing the answers for that right now. Of course, I'm looking for the Mac Pro myself. I'm waiting for that. So, Nick Papadopoulos says, so you can't talk any news. How about sign language or even thumbs up or down about the whole event? Oh, the whole event is thumbs up. Future Media Concepts is doing a fantastic job. So the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit is fantastic. I'm not going to comment on the trip to Apple at this point. I'm just not going to comment on that. keep in good graces of everybody. So Alex says, any footage of happy attendees returning from Apple? Let me just tell you this. I left early. I didn't stay for the entire event. I stayed for the entire presentation, and we went, I did do that, but I didn't stay for the entire event. I was going to walk back to the hotel. He had about an hour. It was about 5 o'clock or so, but I took the early shuttle back to the hotel. A bunch of us did. Dave says, did you even see a Mac Pro? I think I'm not going to say whether we did or not, but I think you can probably guess the answer to that. I think you can guess the answer. And Felipe Baez says, very good, Richard. Matter of fact, I have a clip of Felipe. Let me pull that up here. He did a great job. It's his presentation. So that's Felipe doing his presentation, Post-Lab and Hedge for Mac, and he did a presentation with Kino as well. So Justine says either yes or no. I can say that's correct. It's either yes or no. Felipe says there. Thank you. Look there. There I am. Let's go for breakfast. I'm going to head down for breakfast, Felipe, as soon as I get done this broadcast. I know people want answers. I don't have answers that I can give them, as nobody should. Justine says, ha, 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 to her question. She's always on this early morning. She's in Africa, South Africa. Long ways away. So when we got there, our tour guide was there. This is at the Apple Visitor Center. Apple Visitor Center. We had a little tour guide there. They had these unusual, to say the least, buttons identifying you this time, little Apple logo. It was a magnet on one side, and then the Apple pin was on the other side. As a matter of fact, at one point it mine fell off, but thank God it was in my lap, because that's how they identify you getting into Apple campus and stuff. So there's a little. I was trying to put mine on.
No, I was just reaching. I didn't mean for you to film it. I didn't care. I just wanted you to hold it for me so I can use it.
So yeah, I was trying to get. I had Bill trying to hold my camera so I could put it on, because it required two hands, and he was filming the whole time. I didn't realize that, but that was funny. So this will not be the last Final Cut Pro TV Radio TV Live event about this. I plan on having more to talk about it. The main thing is that I know the community wants to talk about it. Everybody's excited about what's going on with Final Cut, and other than just keep checking the Apple Store, I don't really have any answers for that. Just don't have any answers. I mean, I think everybody knew that going in from the outside. You guys all knew that was going to happen. But let me see what else we have here. So let me say this. This, Expo, image. This, I love this about visiting Apple. It's one of my favorite things about visiting the Apple campus. Beautiful, beautiful Steve Jobs. Nick says, can you comment on if you want to go next year? I don't know. We'll have to see. Here's the thing about these events, Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Future Media Concepts does a fantastic, fantastic job. And as Alex just said, heard some interesting news, heard interesting conversations where people who have never met before making great connections. Absolutely, absolutely. That's absolutely true. So the way I look at the Creative Summit is it's like 3 tiers, 3 legs. You have the sessions, which are great, taught by Final Cut Pro professionals for 3 days. That's one aspect. Another aspect is meeting everybody in person, having conversations, like Alex just said. We're going to meet up and go for breakfast shortly, and that's a big deal. Those are 2 giant things. The third one is, which is also big, is the Apple presentation. So anyway, that's what's been great in the past. This year's has been different because of requirements, whatever stuff. We let me check something. Let me see if the Apple, just by any strange chance, the Mac Pro came out yet. I don't think it has, but let me just check. So Felipe says, well, Gabriel and I met in person for the first time at the summit. That's a very cool part, even though him and I have been collaborating for almost 2 years. And Felipe says, a lot of top-notch attendees, absolutely, including yourself. And the sessions are really great, honestly better than the year I attended previously. The sessions are fantastic, and then meeting people. I mean, meeting people that you see online all the time, and all of a sudden you're talking to them and having coffee with them, sitting in the lobby, or going to breakfast, or going for lunch or dinner, whatever. Those are 2 fantastic things. So the way I look at it is, those 3 things, and if they're all strong, that's fantastic. In the past, they've all been strong, and in the future, we'll have to see how this goes. It's every year it's whether they're going to have another one or not. So far they've had, this is the 5th one. I didn't go to the first one. Eric Emmerich says 2 vibes I get. 1, it was underwhelming, or 2, there was a true surprise. Well, Eric, I would say that one of those things are true. That's what I would say. One of those things are true. So Dave Hunt says, can you comment on what the spaceship was like? I know you said on previous videos and podcasts you were looking forward to it. Well, we didn't go to the spaceship. That was a disappointment. For months we were told we were going to go to the spaceship, and then we were not allowed to. Last couple of weeks or last week or so, it was a big disappointment. We didn't go to the spaceship. And let me see if I have a picture of that. Well, here's Here's a lecture. We got to the top. The architects that designed this spaceship campus gave us a lecture and talked about building it. One of the things he said was it's sitting on giant ball bearings. The whole spaceship campus is on giant ball bearings because of potential earthquakes. Here we go. So we got to the rooftop. We sat down. We had a lecture from the architects, one of the main architects. He talked all about how it was built. It took much less time than I expected it. He said it was like 9 years, something like that. Ernest White says, Richard, what is the one overwhelming thing that users want to have in the next Final Cut Pro version? I don't think there's one. I would say that there's probably overwhelming things. I mean, of course, we know dupe detection. We know an audio mixer. We know collaboration. Those are big ones that come up all the time. All the time. So those are, I'd say, would be 3 things. Of course, I want a scrolling timeline. I've been wanting one of those for quite a while. From people that in the know say it's in there, but they haven't turned it on yet. So we'll see if it gets turned on. So I'll be interested in seeing when the Mac Pro is released. I'm just going to go check on that. Let me see what else I have here. So, did I show you the store already? I think I did. Here's the store. So that was a store. That's a public place. Everybody can go in there and take pictures and you buy swag. There's a line to buy. AirPod Pros are very popular today, but there's also some other things that were bought. So, Expo. So you all know there were restrictions on what we could talk about. So Rob Fisher says, how many times a day do you check for the Mac Pro? Well, I just check to keep people informed. I'm not going to buy one on day one. I'm going to wait. I'll probably buy one in 2020 if of course, listen, it's going to be the most powerful Mac available, and I like having the most powerful Mac available. I like having that. So I have the money for it. I love the form factor of the Mac Pro, and so I intend to buy one because I'm going to either buy that or an iMac Pro. We'll see what they update. They'll probably update that at some point as well, but I'm going to buy one or the other. So Nick says, so connecting the dots in the dark, I think most effort will be done by third parties at least until next year. Thankful about the update that added the extensions API. Well, I mean, the extensions were specifically, that was last year, 10.4.4, specifically meant to add third-party extensions. As a matter of fact, Roger Bolton's Core Melt extension, he got that, and he said it took a long time. It's a lot of work, of course. Justine says she's refreshing the App Store every 15 seconds. Yep, that's what we do when we're waiting for a Final Cut Pro update. And Work in Progress says, what specs are you intending to buy? So I'm going to buy a lower end one, but I am going to update the CPU. I'm going to get a 12 or 16 core. I know that for a fact. And what I've found in the past is the 512 gigabyte hard drives, 512 and lower, aren't as fast as the 1 terabyte and above because of the RAID situation. I think they RAID a bunch of drives together in RAID 0, and for some reason it's not as fast. So I will probably get whatever the tier is, the lowest tier that I can get, that's the faster speed. I think it's 1 terabyte. That's what it's been on the MacBook Pro and I think the iMac and stuff. So I'll get that one faster SSD, and I also will get an upgraded CPU, 12 or 16 core. Everything else I can buy later. I don't use ProRes. I film on the iPhone, my iPhone 11 Pro, which does H.265 or H.264, and I film on the GH5, which does the same. So I don't need the Afterburner card or less, unless it starts accelerating H.265 to H.264 performance. Then I would consider it. Alex Gallner says, reports of a new video on Instagram shows a new Mac Pro in Calvin Harris's studio. I'm not sure who Calvin Harris is. You know, here's the thing. The Mac Pro's been extensively shown at WWDC 6 months ago. They have it on their website. They have the breakdown. They have all the components. The only thing they haven't shown is the prices for these components. This is not, you know, a big secret. So, of course, they're in the wild. Everybody knows that. I'm not sure. Maybe there's some technical reason. Who knows? I mean, they still say the fall, as far as I know. So Rob Fisher says, so the 256, 512 gigabyte SSDs are slower than the 1 terabyte and above. Yes, you're getting that right. That's absolutely correct. And the reason is because they RAID these NVMe chips or whatever together, I think is RAID 0, and for some reason, the more they have, well, not for some reason, the more they have, the faster it goes. Just like when you have a 4 terabyte RAID, it's not as fast as an 8 terabyte RAID, even though using the same drives and the same whatever hardware. So that's what I'm thinking, is they have more chips in the 1 terabyte, and so therefore they're RAIDing all those to RAID 0 together, and it's definitely faster. It absolutely is. The 512 is 1 tier, and the speed jumps up when you go to the 1 terabyte. That's absolutely a fact. It currently, because I've had the 1 terabyte and I've also had the 512, and there's definitely a speed difference. I mean, I'm not saying 50%, but there is like a 20% or 30% speed difference. So absolutely. So I will get whatever. I'll let Rob Morgan do all his speed tests, and then I'll decide what I'm going to get. I will be getting whatever the tier is, the lowest tier SSD that's the fastest. So probably I'm thinking it's in the past it's been 1 terabyte, so I'll probably get the 1 terabyte. Because everything else you can add later. You can add graphics cards later. You can add the Afterburner card later. You can add third-party cards later. You don't have to buy it all initially. Initially I'll get the 12 or 16 core, the fastest SSD. You can add memory later. This is what's great about the cheese grater. So I'll buy all this stuff after the fact. Maybe third-party stuff instead of paying the Apple premium for that. I already have a 34 or 32-inch LG monitor. It's Thunderbolt. It's ultra wide. I like a wider monitor for timeline. I'm not doing Hollywood film color correction. Ernest says, will you also purchase the monitor? No, I will not. No, I'm not. I have no intentions of purchasing them. I don't need the monitor. I'm just doing editing, basic color correction, so I won't be getting that. So Rob Fisher says, thanks, Richard, for the explanation. Do you use the 2 terabyte plan or any other plan to iCloud? If so, would it make sense to get at least 2 terabyte hard drive? Well, if you can afford it, sure. If you can afford the 2 terabyte, it's a premium price that you're paying now. I have Dropbox Pro. It's either 1 or 2 terabytes, and I have Backblaze for backing up things, and then I also have a basic tier of iCloud storage. So the other interesting thing is we haven't seen the 16-inch MacBook Pro people are talking about. So I was, before the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit this year, I was thinking they're going to have a Pro event. They're going to show the Mac Pro. They're going to show the the 16-inch MacBook Pro, maybe a new iPad Pro. They didn't do that, and so far have only announced the AirPods Pro. That was announced in a press release on a Monday. I don't know what they're doing with the rest of this stuff. We haven't had confirmation of the 16-inch MacBook Pro, but everybody is pretty confident it's there. The Mac Pro we know about. The Mac Pro, just the fact that it's not released doesn't mean we don't know all the specifications. We've seen it in action. WWDC Apple showed it. They turned it around. They took it apart. They pulled the case off. They showed you all the insides. You can go on apple.com and see all that stuff. That's not any kind of a secret. The 16-inch MacBook Pro we don't know about, but apparently it's the same size as the 15. Just the screen real estate is bigger. So we'll have to see. Let's see what else we got here. I'm just going to check just in case they snuck anything in on us. Let me just see. So Mac Pro is still coming this fall. I always click on that to make sure it's refreshed. I mean, they have all the details. This is all the details. Watch the film. We saw the film. We saw how the case opens up. This is, we saw that. This is all very public information. This is not a state secret. Look at that. The thing's gorgeous. It'll be the fastest, up to 28 cores. It'll be the fastest Mac ever. And it's very customizable, as you all can imagine. Eric Emmerich says, FCPX update on a Saturday? That would be unusual, but I've learned that anything is possible. I don't expect it. So Nick says, so regarding your thoughts about what you found out, positive or negative, did you discuss that with Apple there? Is that something you can discuss? No, we can't really discuss anything, conversations with Apple as far as the actual sessions themselves go. I will be following up with more information as much as I can share. When I get back to the East Coast, I'll see what I can put together. I'm going to be talking to more people here. And the main thing is, look, the Final Cut Pro was not updated in the App Store. We just checked that multiple times. It's not been updated. What's that mean? That means an update's forthcoming. I mean, that's just the way it is right now. There's nothing more anybody can really say. They're not supposed to. If they do, they're breaking their whatever agreement we have. So Alex Gallner says, do you think version 10.4.7 will be the last version that will run on Mojave? What do you think if new versions are Catalina only? I think, don't they usually go backwards one OS with Final Cut Pro 10? I think that, no, there will be features and benefits to being on Catalina because of the way it works with Metal, I think. So, but I think for compatibility reasons, I'm be surprised if, well, I wouldn't be surprised, but things that I grasp that I think are pretty sure sometimes are not pretty sure. So even though Steve Jobs isn't here anymore, there is a reality distortion field at Apple presently. That's for sure. So does 1047 work on metal cat only? Justine says 1047 works only on metal cat only. I didn't know that. No, that's not true. I got 1047. It's not on Catalina. I am not updating Catalina. Does it? I have 1047, I think. I would think so. I have 1047, and I'm not running Catalina. I think I have it. I think I updated. I'm not. Now that you mention it, I'm not positive. I can't remember. I have my MacBook Pro's on one operating system, and my main iMac is on another one. My main iMac is on another one, so I think I'm even on High Sierra on one of my machines. Yeah, that's what I thought. Metal 2 was introduced with Mac OS High Sierra, introduced at WWDC 2017. That's what Alex Gollner says. Yeah, I'm not running. I got 1047, and I'm not running Cat, so it's definitely not. I don't know, Alex, to answer your question. I don't know. Yeah, 1047. Well, there's. Let me just we're having a discussion here, back and forth, on what. Ernest White says many will not be. She says incompatible app on the App Store for me on my High Sierra. Well, let me just check. I thought. I'm not running 1047 on one machine. Let me just check the specs while we're talking about this. Does it require... I know I'm running High Sierra on one machine, but I'm not sure... Here we go. Let's see what the specs are. Tech specs. Minimum requirement 10.14.6 or later. What am I on here? Ten 14.6 or later. So I am on. Yeah, I'm on 10.14.6, which is Mojave. So I don't know about. So Felipe says 10.4.7 is Mojave and above. Yep, I'm on 10.4.7. And it requires a computer that is metal compatible. I think that's the graphics card, if I'm not mistaken. So it requires 10.4.7. So I haven't updated. I don't think I updated my one machine to 10.4.7 yet. Then obviously. So Alex Gollner says there is more to macOS compatibility than metal. Some new motion and Final Cut features require Catalina. Absolutely. That's what I've heard. He says, Felipe says, yes, anything HDR requires Catalina. Very, very good. Very interesting to know. So Spotty says, what was the surprise Apple had announced on the FCPX Summit page? I'm not sure what you're referring to. I didn't know about any surprise. Oh, they did say something kind of generically about something about a surprise. There's nothing we can talk about any kind of surprise. So Fred Rhodes says, the episode you did with Michael Cioni blew my mind in so many ways, but music production in Final Cut Pro 10, I'm very interested in that whole concept. If you see him here, please give the world a video breakdown. I think Michael's going to come back on Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live, and we're going to talk about the album. We're both musicians, so we'll be talking about how he did that album. I'm curious myself. So Alex says from the nice new Motion help system, the recommended system requirements for Motion 544 is Mac OS Catalina. Huh. Very good. So I presume if you try to download the version, and you don't have the right OS, the App Store will give you an error. Daniel Suzuki says exporting HEVC with alpha channels requires Catalina. So we're definitely going to get a new version of Final Cut Pro at some point that's going to require Catalina for some of the features. But they usually go backwards compatible a little bit. Alex Gollner says the minimum system requirements is Mac OS Mojave 10.14.6, which is what I'm on in this MacBook Pro. I'm broadcasting from here at this point. So I wish I could tell you more, but I can't. And since Final Cut Pro has not been updated in the App Store, we're still at 10.4.7. Let's just check that one more time. Here we go. Yep, still at 10.4.7. Has not been updated in the App Store. That means at some point, obviously, we're going to have a new version of Final Cut Pro come out. But I will be I will be coming back on here and we'll be talking further about this. I can't, obviously, the Final Cut Pro team's coming here today. People are going to be talking with them. I'm sure there's not going to be anything public we can talk about there either. Same as last year. That's not a surprise. The actual event is public information. It's on the website. Alex Gollner says, I expect new proxy workflow features and a future version of Final Cut will require Catalina if they add an HEVC with alpha channel option for proxies. That sounds completely realistic. I hope a proxy workflow comes to Final Cut Pro for sure, but I'm interested, besides the alpha channel thing and HEVC, I'm also interested in choosing resolution sizes and data rates and proxy relinking. That's another thing I certainly am interested in. So, should I go eat breakfast or should I keep on talking? I guess breakfast is waiting down there somewhere. We have a keynote this morning. We had a good keynote yesterday with talking about cutting Final Cut Pro in The Banker, an Apple movie that's coming out December 6th with Samuel Jackson, based on real-life events. It was cut in Final Cut. Both the editor and the assistant editor used Final Cut. And it was actually shot on film, so they converted it over. So they say. Breakfast. Thank you. I want breakfast. Late yesterday. Breakfast. Add to broadcast. 2 breakfasts. I think I will take you up on that. Mads Larson says, hi, Richard. I hope you had a great trip to Apple Park. The Apple Park was fine. Alex Gollner says, one more question. Do you think if a corporate salesperson got a wavering client to attend the summit, would the experience close the deal? I'm not sure. That's always multiple factors involved. Alex says, after I answer his question, then I can go to breakfast. Then breakfast. Justine Robillard says, bacon, eggs, coffee, bacon, bacon. There you go. I'm going to get something down at I think everybody's probably already down here by now. I told them I'd be down at 7:30 and I didn't make it. But anyway, this will not be the last times. Everybody's saying go to breakfast. Thank you. I appreciate it. We got a comment. I just joined in. What are we talking about? We're talking about breakfast, bacon, eggs, and stuff. Alex Gallner says, thank you. I thank everybody for listening. And like I said, we'll be talking about this more as much as we can. And Alex Gallner says spam instead of bacon, I guess. Fred Rhodes says, have a great day. Thank you very much. I intend to. So we have the Final Cut Pro team coming here today. That'll be an interesting conversation based on yesterday. Nick says, thank you. Thank you, Nick, for stopping by. Mars says, will you be broadcasting next year? We'll have to see how that goes. We'll have to see. I mean, we're presuming there's going to be one next year. I mean, we never can tell from one year to the next. I would say most likely I have a good relationship with Future Media Concepts, and I work with them a lot, and it's their event. She goes, I'm in Europe, and it's already 5 p.m. That's 5 p.m.? No, can't be 5 p.m., is it? It's 7, 8 o'clock. It should be like 3 p.m., unless you're in different parts. Dave Hunt says, add a little black pudding with that bacon. I'm not sure what black pudding is. I have no idea what that is. I'm not sure if it sounds good. Chocolate pudding, maybe. I've already had one coffee. So anyway, everybody, I'm going to head off here today. This is not the last time we'll be talking as much as we can about that. Justine says it's 6 p.m. in Africa, where she is. Oh, she says Slovenia. That's where in Europe. Ronnie Corton says, yes, it's 5 p.m. here in Belgium. How you doing, Ronnie? 5 p.m. That's interesting. So it's 8 o'clock, so you're like 7 hours difference, it looks like. I thought, well, of course we had the daylight savings time just kick off, so maybe that's what it is. It's 1 hour. Okay, 5 p.m. So no breakfast for you. Nick says, when is the next stream, you think? What time? I don't know, Nick. Because it depends what happens today. Maybe I'll do something tonight for sure. Later, after the events of the day, the thing stops today at 5 o'clock. That's the official time when the summit's over with. But I'll be here tonight, so I'll come back and broadcast again. We can talk further. Ronnie Corden says, go have breakfast, Richard. Have a great day. Thank you very much, Ronnie. I appreciate it. Justine says, 10 hours to Cupertino from Africa. I have just made a dinner. Well, dinner's a long way off for me. And Alex says, black pudding is British blood sausage. So that's like a breakfast sausage, I guess, of some sort. So, everyone, this is, once again, we are going to be, this will not be the last one. Justine says, rolls for her. Daniel says, any chance you can find out how many people at the event are editing with eGPUs? I will ask them. See if there's any kind of consensus. Somebody won an eGPU yesterday at the raffle. I think that was live. She says, just tune in. Can you recap shortly, please? I can recap this. Okay? This is what I can recap. On the App Store, Final Cut Pro has not been updated. It's still at 10.4.7. 10.4.7. That means we got a future version of Final Cut coming up at some point that's going to be something else. 10.4.8, 10.5, don't know. I was expecting to see 10.5 this year, a preview, but the year's not over yet, so we'll have to see how that goes. Mars Nielsen says 5 p.m. here. I'll have some breakfast too, just to blend in. Thank you very much. I'm having a late breakfast today. Usually I've already had it by now. A lot of comments today. So anyway, we'll have to wait to see what the rest of the year. I mean, they keep saying that the Mac Pro's coming out this fall. Could they release a new version of Final Cut with the Mac Pro? They certainly could. They most certainly could. That would not be a surprise. But they've also updated Final Cut Pro a month ago, 10.4.7. So we'll have to, you know, we can't talk about anything else right now. But I'm going to go downstairs, have breakfast, and I'll talk to everybody later. Thanks for tuning in today, and I will be back. I'll be back tonight for sure, and talk about the events of the day. That's what I'm here to cover. I'm not here just to cover the trip to Apple Park, which we knew in advance that was restricted. It always has been restricted. You can't film at the Apple Park because of employees' privacy and stuff. They don't allow that. So, not the Apple Park. Well, Apple HQ, I call it. One infinite loop. It's actually 4 infinite loop. All right, everyone. Let me see what else we have here. If we have anything else. This is the 9th version of the coverage for the FCPX Creative Summit. The next version will be 10. You can go by the numbers. There's 1 through 9 so far. So Vincent says, there's 2 summits with no big update. Have a good meal. Thanks. Well, 10.4.4 wasn't a full number update last year, but it added extensions. It added the dual browser for comparing shots and stuff. I use both of those all the time. Hope you all have a nice Saturday event. I hope we do as well. Marcelo Faraz, he was here last year. Met him last year. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to talk to the Final Cut Pro team at the Q&A session this year. I was interested last year, but this year is going to be an interesting conversation, I think. Perhaps a little different than it was last year. So I will report back later tonight. Probably, I think the event stops. They have a tips and tricks show. Chris Fenwick had and my friends are doing a presentation. Mike Matzdorf and Mike Yanovich are doing a presentation. Dave Hunt says, have a good broad breakfast, enjoy the day, and I will catch up with you when you're live next. It'll probably be this evening around 6 or 7, probably by, let's say 7 o'clock Pacific time, something like that. So, all you people are very brave if you've updated to Catalina. That's for sure. I keep hearing problems with that, but I'm sure some people do, some people don't, but I don't want to be one of the ones that do. We're update. I think Alex Gallner and I both wait till the spring next year before you update the Catalina, at least on our main production machine. I'm not going to update right now. I'm going to just, unless I have to, if a version of Final Cut comes out, a new version that requires Catalina and has features that I want, I'll think about it at that point. But main thing is zip your version of Final Cut and back up your current version of iOS. You can always go back. All right, everyone. I'm going to go down and have breakfast. Everybody's probably already eaten and probably gone by now. But I'm going to go downstairs and have breakfast. I will report back later tonight, and if there's anything that I can talk about later, I could break in live at any point, but just subscribe to the YouTube channel, Facebook, you know the place, Richard Taylor TV everywhere, Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, it's all the same. Twitter, Twitter is the main place I post things immediately. And then the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Final Cut Pro Radio. Join us over there. You can continue this conversation there. You can also continue it here on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you. Bon appetit. Thank you very much. Lots of comments today. Everybody's excited. Everybody's excited to know the answers, which unfortunately we don't have. Just like I said, just the Final Cut Pro has not been updated in the App Store, and I'm not sure if we really were expecting it to be updated. We were just, we weren't sure what was going to happen. But anyways, it has not been updated in the App Store yet. When I last checked, the Mac Pro has not been released yet, so all that stuff is forthcoming. Any new version of Final Cut is in the future. Any new Mac Pro, well, not when the Mac Pro gets pricing when it's released, it'll be obviously coming in any day. Although the fall goes till December the 20th or the 21st, so it could be anywhere between now and mid-December, what they did last time. Hopefully they have higher production numbers this time so they can fulfill the orders as quick as possible. All right, everyone. Let me just see if I have one more. Well, here's a little bit of the expo report.
I don't know. Yeah, the engineers might have a clue, but they don't.
Look at the difference in quality. Yeah. That's a 6S Plus, which was really good, but now it's...
You got the bigger iPhone 11.
Yeah, because it's the same size as this one.
Yeah.
6S Plus, and I like it. I don't put it in my pocket.
Yeah, see, I
on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook and Periscope and YouTube. So this is Jasper.
Hi, everybody.
And you're the famous author of
Post
Lab, which is now working with Hedge. Are you guys?
Yeah.
With Hedge.
Yeah. I'm working at Hedge now.
And how does that work? How does Post, just generically for the audience?
So Post Lab is
which is moving into Malcolm, so there's hope.
There you go.
Hope in the end of the tunnel. Right.
Yeah, well, tunnel's a long ways off.
Yeah. Who cares?
We got time.
Yeah.
We know what we got.
So there you have a little bit of the expo last night. It was a great event, a lot of people coming around. And I did ask the Blackmagic people who were there, which was interesting. They're at a Final Cut Pro event. The Blackmagic people were there. And I asked her about the support for B-RAW in Final Cut Pro, and she said she doesn't know. She doesn't know. She didn't know. She had no answer for that question. Anyway, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and have breakfast. I will report back as soon as I have anything new, or if not, we'll come back on here live and discuss further tonight. Probably about 7 p.m. East Pacific, probably around then. I'll get it set up and we'll go back live and report of the events for the day. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. YouTube.com/RichardTaylorTV, Facebook.com/RichardTaylorTV, Twitter, RichardTaylorTV, and TV and Periscope.TV, RichardTaylorTV. Those are the places to follow along. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.